Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum. My name is Mimi Arisa. Me and my groupmates would like to present about the comparison between public-private partnership system under subject CMA543, Construction Procurement and Contract Manager under the guidance of Technologies Zainab Muhammad Zainuddin. So for this assignment prepared by Adrina Najwa binti Adnan, Anissa binti Ashraf, me, Mimi Arisa binti Adnan and Siti Nur Azila binti Abu Zaki. So what is actually a public-private partnership (PPP)? In Malay, we call kerjasama awam swasta. So the term public-private partnership describes a range of possible relationship among public and private entities in the context of infrastructure and other services. So a PPP is a long-term contract between a government and private company where the private party delivers public infrastructure or services on and take on significant financial, technical and operational risk. So why governments use PPP, especially for reduced public spending? Share risk is a must and access private sector expertise and also speed up infrastructure deliveries such as roads, school and hospital.
Okay, next, let's take a closer look at the key characteristic of public-private partnership or PPP. First, we have the design. This stage involves taking a project from a conceptual idea and developing it into construction-ready design standards. It is where the planning and technical drawing are prepared to ensure the project is feasible and effective. Next is the build or rehabilitate. When the PPP are used for the new infrastructure project, the private party is typically responsible for the construction, the asset, and installing all the necessary equipment. In cases where the project involves existing asset, the private sector may be tasked with the rehabilitating or expanding them. Third is the finance. In a PPP, when a new project is being built or an existing one is being upgraded, the private sector usually covers some or all of the costs. This financial investment is crucial part of the partnership. Then comes to the operate. Here, the private party may take on responsibility for providing services and ensuring the technical operation of the infrastructure or asset. Finally, we have the maintain. The private sector is usually responsible for the maintaining the asset, which include constructing the facility and installing any required equipment. These five characteristic design, build or rehabilitate, finance, operate, and maintain are form of the foundation of effective PPP arrangement, combining public oversight with private expertise and investment. Okay, so next is the payment mechanism. There are two main types of payment mechanism in public-private partnership or PPP. So first, we have the user pay PPP models. In this arrangement, private companies are responsible for building and managing the services. Users pay directly for this service and the revenue goes to the private company. So, the more users there are, the more payment company receive. In some cases, the government may step in to provide the bonus or cover certain differences in cost to ensure affordability for the end users. Next is the government pays PPP models. Here, private companies do not collect payment from the user. Instead, the government pays company on a regular basis, typically only if the service quality is maintained. For users, this means the services are free at point of use as the cost is covered by the government. Both of these models serve different purposes depending on the type of services being provided and the intended balance between public affordability and private sector involvement. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, so for the next slide, I will explain more about the BOT, which is a build operate transfer. And as you may see here, the build operate transfer is divided by three. And the first one, we have the BOT, build operate transfer, where the private company construct and operate the properties in a defined period before handed back to the public sector. And the second one, we have BOT, the build, own, operate transfer, where the private company own the project during construction and before transferring back to the public sectors. And last but not least, from the BOT, we have here is the BTO, build, transfer, operate, where the ownership is transferred promptly after the construction is complete. So the next one we have here is the DBFO, which is the short form for a design, build, finance, and operate. And it's also the same as the previous one, where they divided by three. And the first one we have here is the DBFO, the design, build, finance, operate, where the contractor responsible for the designing, construction, financing, and operation, while the government takes over the long-term maintenance for the project. And the second one we have here is the DBFOM, the design, build, finance, operate, maintenance, and where the contractor responsible for the designing, construction, financing, and operation, and for the long-term maintenance for the project. And last but not least, from the DBFO, we have here is the design, construct, manage, finance, where the contractor is responsible for the designing, construction, maintenance, and providing financing for the project. Okay, so the next slide, I will explain about the differentiate about the BOT and also the DBFO. So for the first features about the BOT, where they have the private company own the asset while ongoing project, which is defined period, then handed back to the public sectors only after fulfilling their contract or completing the construction. And for the DBFO, we have the features about the private sector is responsible for their designing, building, financing, and operating a public asset for a set time, but the government retain ownership throughout. And the private firm is paid by the government and not directly by user. So the next one is the structure of the BOT, where the design is the private partner design the infrastructure based on the government specification. But meanwhile, for the DBFO, we have here the design by the private partner delivers the infrastructure project. And the next one, the facility is construct using private capital. And for the DBFO, we have the finance funded by the private sector, often through loan or bond. And for the BOT, they operate by the private partner operates the facility, usually collecting user fees like tolls to recover the costs and earn profit. And for the DBFO, we have their operation by the private party operates and maintain the asset. Okay, last but not least, for the BOT structure, they transfer after the contract period, which is often 30 years, and the asset is handed back to the government. And for the DBFO, we have the payment is the government pay based on the performance, where um, they take part on the also on the availability and also their service quality.
So, thank you, Anissa. I will continue for the comparison of BOT and DBFO. For BOT, the application can be toll routes. Why? Because for toll, the private company operates, maintain, and receive payment directly from the users who use the route. Government role in this case is sometimes government pay the bonuses or extra in keeping the services remain affordable for the civilian. Moreover, this asset also can be given to the government after several years or after the contract ended. While for DPFO, the application is a hospital. The private company receives the payment from the government instead from the users. For example, the private have operates and maintain its services for 30 years. Then government will pay this company periodically only if the service are top notch or any condition followed by their term and condition. So next, the advantages of BOT is first offload financial burden from the government. This is because private company operates and stand on their own. So government don't requires to invest in large sum of money. Second, promotes private sector efficiency as non-government companies have high competition and motivation to maintain their good company names. And lastly, infrastructure develop faster. Usually, private sector have more flexible access to the resources than the government. Then, the project can progress rapidly. On the other hand, the advantages of DBFO, firstly, it can ensure the long-term maintenance and quality. As the private company operates and maintain the quality of the services, they have direct incentive in building the high quality infrastructure. Next, DBFO is ideal for public services in condition where charging users directly would be impractical or sensitive. And lastly, reduces financial risk for users and improve access. Typically, government compensate private company, not the end users, thus reducing the financial risk and make the services or the infrastructure more accessible. However, there are always challenges in advantages. As stated here, the BOT can be high fees for the user and this can cause public resistance and lower the income. Moreover, the demand raised by the end users or possibly by the government too by can be burdensome as private sector operates dependently. Lastly, if the expectations are failed to deliver, it can lead to renegotiation, thus make the company to suffer losses. For the BFO, the challenges are it can be costly for the government in long-term payments as the government need to regularly pay the other sector, I mean the private sector. Next, complex contract can be hard for both parties to negotiate. And finally, political changes over time can affect the contract enforcement. So we will moving on to the next slide. So we continue to onto the final slide. On the revenue sources for BOT, the payment received from the user charges, and also sometimes viability gap funding (VGF) from the government are also added to make sure the project are financially stable to continue and operate. For the BFO, the payment mainly received from the government and no direct user money. So, from all of the above payment receiving, the payment mechanism of BOT is user pay PPP and DBFO is government pays PPP. Finally, the real world example of BOT can be seen in Malaysia where KLIA Express and KLIA Transit Rail Services. From India, we have the National Highway Projects under the National Highway Authority of India (NHAI). From Turkey, Istanbul, Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge, and lastly from Philippines, North Luzon Expressway. For the BFO, from Malaysia, we have the most known Malaysia 5G network. From the UK, Hospital and School Project under the Private Finance Initiative (PFI). From Canada, Highway 407. From India, roads built under hybrid annuity model. That's all from us. Thank you.